Joining us at the table, we have Christena Huntsman Durham, Director and Executive Vice President of Huntsman Foundation, along with Tonja R. Myles, Community Engagement Advisor, the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation. Enjoy our conversation. Take your seat, get comfortable, because it's time to stay a while. I'm Tommi Vincent, your host, and today we have in the chairs Christena Huntsman Durham, and we have Tonja Myles. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me here at the Stay a While table. It is an honor to have conversation with you both. I know that you all are extremely deliberate and intentional with the work that you're doing around mental health. And so I want to use this opportunity for us to talk about that, but talk about it in a way that's relatable to people listening that may not recognize that their mental health may be in jeopardy, or that can use the information we're talking about here through our storytelling to prevent themselves from going down a path or sitting in a space too long before they tap into what they need to be healthy individuals mentally.
Well, look, first of all, thank you so much for having us for real, for real. I appreciate the work that you do and these conversations and the spaces that you create. We need. I think that healing begins in the house first. And so we know that your podcast is reaching people in their house. And we believe that healing is everyone's birthright. Look, I have lived experience. I know how it is to be a person who have no hope, that to think that the only way out is to kill myself, or is to prostitute myself, or is to do drugs and overdose because I think that all the stuff that was done to me or I did, there is no hope and help after that. And so the fact that I get to wake up every day on a mission and push hope to let people know that recovery is real, and if that I can do it, they can do it as well. We have to tell that story. And spaces like this helps us move the needle so people can know that you're not the only one, that we all have challenges. Brain pain happens to all of us for different reasons, but there's hope.
You said something very interesting in regards to, and this is how I interpreted what you said. We have these experiences that we encounter in life, some not our choices, others our choices. And when we're making those choices, there is this undercurrent of, I don't feel worthy. So as a result of that pain, I need to do things that indicate I'm feeling this way, or my experience is justified because of my unworthiness.
Yeah, look, trauma is a beast. And, there was a song that someone had me sing one day, and it said, I am just a child I know. Everything I am will grow. Things that hurt when I am small grows much bigger when I'm tall. And that's what happened to me, and that's what happens with trauma. It happens for different reasons. Look, you said it earlier about mental health. It affects us all, and it's not cookie cutter. But at the end of the day, no matter what has happened to you, there's hope, there's help, and there's healing. And we have to get to the root cause of it. And particularly when it comes to trauma, because it does not discriminate from the curbside to the country club. It can affect you. And so we have to talk about it. Look, especially in the African American community, we were told to suck it up, go pray it away. It's a spirit. Are you kidding me right now? But if a person had issues with heart disease, we would tell them to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. So we have to have conversations like this, like you're doing, to let people know that it's okay to talk about it. And I'm just saying, therapy is here.
That's the truth. I believe in Jesus in therapy.
That part. A script and a scripture? It's needed.
So Christena, I know that your family, they have decided that you have your stake in the ground here.
Right.
You are committed to this area of mental wellness and making sure that people recognize that it's not a stigma, that this is life. And just like we're working out the other areas of our bodies, and we're tending to all the other aspects of our health, that this piece of us, our mental health, is extremely important. Why is that?
It's important to our family. I lost my sister 15 years ago to a drug overdose. We think it wouldn't happen in families like ours. At the time of her passing, we didn't put on her obituary how she passed away, but we realized that was a missed opportunity. substance abuse, mental health. It's behind every door in America. And I'm here to talk as a mom and a grandma and a sister and friend. I'm a mom of 7. I have 13 grandkids. And as a mom, I wish I knew now, you know, as a mom, I remember, one of my daughters being diagnosed with depression and going to the pharmacy as far away as possible from our neighborhood, because as a mom, I didn't want that stigma of getting medication, or I didn't want somebody to judge my daughter that I was getting medication for them. But how often do we put that self-stigma, as a mom or our kids, trying to protect our kids because we don't want to share what they're really going through? When I checked my sister into detox, it was, through the back doors at night in a dark, detox isn't a glamorous place to go. And I watched our family build, one of the most beautiful cancer centers, the Huntsman Mental Health Institute. And my dad dedicated a lot of his time and resources to finding a cure for cancer. He said, when people walk in the doors, I want them to feel hope and beauty and light. And we're trying to do that same thing with mental health. When you go in to get treatment or substance use, it's got to be a place of beauty, and you are greeted with a warm blanket and encouragement and no judgment. I look back at my sister, and I'm sure a lot of the self-stigma that she put on herself, why am I taking drugs? My life on the outside looks perfect. What is wrong with me? And until we can look at it as a brain disease and really allow people to be able to get the help that they need. She suffered from an eating disorder. And so many of these things, if we can get children the help that they need at a young age, when they're first having issues, and give them the tools and the resources. I want my grandchildren to not be afraid of a diagnosis. And if they get a diagnosis, to know that there are tools and that there are treatments and that they can live their best life. They don't need to numb their pain away with substance, because sometimes that's easier. You look at insurance. Insurance doesn't cover mental health issues. Resources, you finally get up the nerve to tell somebody you need to see a therapist, and it's a 3-month wait to get in, and then insurance,
you have all
barrier after barrier. So you just think, okay, I'll put that on the back burner. I'll wait and do that later. But in the meantime, your brain, it needs the help and it needs the treatment. So if we can get tools and resources out to people before they're in crisis, but it all starts with sharing your story. But how hard is it if you're in a workplace or you're with your family and you get a cancer diagnosis? You're going to be greeted with hugs and, oh my gosh, what can we do to support you? We'll bring meals over. But if you are giving a mental health diagnosis, or you need to go into treatment for substance, kind of backed away in silence, and you don't get that help and encouragement. So I think you have to look at that individual of the self-stigma that they put on themselves.
Yep.
And it's just 3 steps backwards of, I'm afraid to ask for help because of how I'm going to be looked at. And so especially as women, we need to be.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Let me ask you this, because we know that we're dealing with different people, and everybody is not viewed the same in this conversation.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
So there's some people, we can talk about this in their treatment. People feel like there's value to their life, and so we want to make sure they get well.
Sure.
Then there's other people where they may be experiencing drug addiction. They may, people may assume there's something going on with them mentally, but their life is disposable. How can we view this as an all people issue where everybody's life matters versus just certain people matter in this conversation?
Well, I use this analogy. My whole body is important from here to here. But let me get a toothache, and right here, this what matters right now. So I would have to take all my resources because the tooth is hurting. And then because it can affect the rest of my whole body feel. But when I apply the resources to that area, then it gives me more relief to my body. And so we know that there are certain demographics that experience more pain, more trauma than others. But we have to realize we're all in this together, that the whole body matters. But when there's one particular piece of my body that's hurting more, I have to address it more. And I think we have to do that. And we have to, let people know that again, that it does not discriminate from the curbside to the country club. Look, life matters, life happens. And it could be financially, it could be trauma, it could be systemic, it could be just so many things, that's going on. And so we need people to know that all of our brains are beautiful, that, the cares of this world come to choke stuff out of us. But at the end of the day, that we all hurt the same, and we can also heal differently, but healing is all of our birthright. And so no matter what it is, no matter what people are going through, that there's hope. And I can't say that enough, because we know that the struggle is real.
Yes.
But source recovery, it's just like people who, use drugs, decide to use drugs like I did. It wasn't like I wanted to be, one day I think I want to be a crackhead. That was not my dreams. I wanted to perform on Broadway. It was not to be a crackhead, but life happens. And so, life has this ebb and flows and this changes. But at the end of the day, how can we help people get back on track and let them know that, what, baby, you can still live your best blessed life. And, there are a lot of people who are cheering you on, like us and like you, because you do it well. And so, I know this is not a Bible study, but it says that, faith without works is dead, and that, life is in the word. And so that's why you're such a great storyteller. And so when you're talking to people, you're putting that life into the atmosphere. And that's where healing happens. That's the sweet part.
Well, we are working on tools that will be able to reach everybody, that will be free resources. We have a pilot program that we're working on in Utah. We have 6 years of data, partnering with the state to get resources out. And so we will be over this next year, hoping to get that to everybody, no matter where they live. And it's an anonymous resource where you will be talking to a peer support or a therapist. And so Utah is unique that we can create these amazing resources and tools, and our work is to get them out to everybody. Right now, we need to push out 988. We have 911. If your house is on fire, you call 911. 988 is a free resource for everybody.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
NAMI is, all around America. So there are free resources right now available. We just want to amplify and add on to what so many people are already doing. But we need to get those resources out to everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. You shared about how you all did not put in your sister's obituary the why.
Right.
And then you also shared about with your daughter how you made sure that you received her medication at a location that allowed it to be anonymous, if you will. To the person that is listening to our conversation that feels like I have to hide this part of me.
Right.
What would you share with them so that they can turn the light on, so they can see where they're going in this process and get the healing they need?
Yeah. I think you find your safe friends. Sometimes it's just one person sharing their story. My youngest daughter has had her own mental health journey, and I think this next generation is going to change things. Because of her journey, she is getting her master's in mental health counseling. And I keep telling her, because of what your lived experience, you will be able to open doors for more people because you have that lived experience. All of us have a lived experience, and it's about sharing it. And sometimes it's just sharing it for the first time. And when we share our stories, I can't tell you how many people will pull one of us aside and say, oh my gosh, my story is similar. Where can I go to get some help? And so I think it's just looking around, and hopefully if you're out there listening and someone shares their story, that you in turn can look at them back with eyes of no judgment and eyes of, it would be like somebody sharing that they have stage 4 cancer and they really need help. And so until we can break the barriers down and not judge each other for what we're going through, because I can guarantee you, during everybody's life, they will deal with a mental health crisis. They will either be on the floor or picking somebody else up off the floor. And so sometimes what we see other people struggling with, we need to have that love and empathy, but it starts with just finding somebody safe to share their experience.
Tonja, I was speaking with another guest today, and we were talking about how we can move through life, especially as women, really just moving through life. And we hit danger zones, but because we're trained and conditioned just to keep pushing,
Keep going.
we ignore the signs, or we may not even recognize them because it may look very similar to what we witnessed growing up. It's normal.
Sure.
So when you think about that, what are some practical telltale signs that may benefit people listening on? Listen, this is you're right now, you've approached yellow. Let's get it right now.
Right. Again, going back to what I said earlier is that, look, if I fail right now and I cut my hand, I would have to address it right then and there. Because if I didn't, I'm opening up that, it's not going to heal properly. It can turn into something else. So it could be something small, but if I don't address it, then it can turn into gangrene. It could turn into an infection. And then there's more stuff that needs to happen. So, if we deal with it right then and there, a lot of times as women, we need to put it off because we have to take care of everybody first. And that's who we are. We're life givers. But the best work that we can do is on ourselves first. We want our families to be successful. We want our kids to have the best life. We want our husbands to be great and do great things. Then we have to make sure that we are doing that for ourselves first. We deserve that, And so then we can now go and give what we have been given to someone else, And I believe that when we do that as women, when we say, you know what, it's not being selfish, because self-care is not being selfish. It's taking care of ourselves first. And once we do that and we get strong enough, then we have enough strength within ourselves to first of all take care of ourselves, but then give it back out to the people that we love so they can be stronger. And look, at the end of the day, we are the best knowers of who we are. Yeah. And so when we see those signs, when it gets to look, everybody's gonna have a bad day, point blank, period. But when bad days turn into bad years or months, then we got to go, you know what? I'm not sleeping. I'm not taking a bath. Because look, I've been there when my husband had to put me in the bath because I hadn't taken a bath for 5 days because I'm so depressed. And I went out and, saved the world and got my cape on. But when I come back home, I can barely take a bath. I mean, that's real talk. Or when, my grandmother and my mom and my sister died back to back to back. And I have to be that caregiver to go and make sure everybody else is okay. But then I go back home and I'm on the, on the couch in the fetal position. So for me, I tell women or anyone, know who you are. When, you need to reach out. But like Christina said, reach out to people that you trust.
Yes.
Reach out to people that can be with you on your worst day to get you to better days, because healing can happen. But as women, we love to give, we love to encourage, we like to take care of each other.
Yes.
But we have to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've talked about openly many times about my experience with depression. And for myself, I have a personal anchor that I go to when I'm feeling, I can feel myself just starting to get low, and it's cooking. So there's two ways that this is a barometer for me. One, I'm in a space where I can go to the cooking and it fuels me. It gives me what I need. I call it soul food therapy. But then there's this space where my gift turns off and I don't have a desire to go into the kitchen. So on one hand, I can use it to heal me. And then on the other hand, if I'm not doing it, I'm in trouble. And so I've talked to my family about that. They know when I'm in the kitchen and they can hear that gospel music blaring, okay, this is her healing space right now. And they honor that. And then they get to benefit from all the food I make.
That part. Come through.
And then the other piece of that is if I'm not making my way into that kitchen, which over the maybe 2 months ago, I was cooking myself farina every day for dinner, 7 days a week. Farina is a hot cereal. Now, one, that's progress because I was cooking, because I could have just not been cooking and feeding myself.
Sure.
But farina is also the first thing I ever made at 3 years old, the very first thing I cooked. So some days into it, I realized I was cooking the farina because I was looking for comfort. But my daughter noticed it, and she called her dad and she said, something's going on with mommy. And everybody knew to tap in with me to say, what is it? But I was fatigued, and there was a lot taking place, and I needed to get some time to address what was going on with me. So I know I need therapy. Like, I don't even really understand the undercurrent of it all, but I know that I need to do some work to identify what this is.
Sure.
So having a piece of your life, for me, that's the one thing I would tell people. If there's something that you do, and when that thing turns off and you're unable to do it, you know that you are in a danger zone, and it's time for you to get some help.
Yeah, and I tell people, you know what? I call it, those 10 levels. I know that if it gets for a 3 for me, then I know I have to reach out to my friends, and I have to be honest with them. Like, you know what? I'm struggling right now, and so they know what to do. I have a circle of 5. My therapists know who to call. And so it's people that I trust. Because look, at the end of the day, women, we should not be competing, but completing each other. And so I know that I can call Christena and say, look, here's what's going on. I can't sleep. I'm feeling some kind of way I feel, because depression's the same way with me. Look, the worst times is when everything in my life is going right. Everything's going right. I'm like killing
People
the game.
say, what do you have to be sad about? But it's not
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
You're so blessed.
Yes.
You got so much going on. And then I feel bad because I'm thinking, oh my God, but then I can feel that fog coming in. And so when it gets to a 3, then I know I have to call my friends and say, look, it's at a 3, or we even have a code system. It's that code blue. We know when it's that code purple, everybody has to come in. So I think that we have to, again, we're the best. We know what's best for us. And when we don't know, there's people that we should love and trust, that we can say, hey, look, this is going on. And then we can come together, and I can call you and I can say, look, that the fog is coming in. And I know what you're going to say is, what can I do? And it's been times that, I'll say, you just need to come sit with me. That's all. And, Tommi, because like you said, depression is real, and I hate it, but that's why we share our truth.
And watching loved ones suffer, I know sometimes it's just, sometimes you just have to go to the door and stick your foot in the door and get in and just give them a hug and just sit. You don't have to say anything, but hold their hand and just get them through some of those dark moments and let them know that it's okay. And like you say, sometimes it's when your life is going great and people will say, what is wrong with you? You have a wonderful life. You have a beautiful family. But you wouldn't say that if someone was going through chemo and cancer. You wouldn't say, why are you in bed so sick? You wouldn't say that.
Yeah. And let me just say this, there are things that, we talked about 988 and NAMI, but if you know a loved one who is struggling, you don't know what to do, just say, hey, so one of the best suicidologists in the country, he said, Tonja, when you don't know what to say, just ask the person this: where does it hurt? And how can I help? Those 2 simple questions. Or if you have a family member that that's struggling, just say, you know what? I don't have to ask you any questions. I'm going to bring you some chicken because that works for my family.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to sit here.
Yes.
It's been places where friends of ours, we're like, you know what? You go to bed and we'll just lay right here. We'll just lay right here with you. And so you're right. But can I say, food, honey, food does something for the soul.
Yeah.
It nourished the brain and it nourished the mind. And so, even when, when there was the Last Supper, there was food involved. And so the fact that that food brings all of us together, I don't care what color you are.
It does. It's our love language.
It is a universal.
Yeah. So you can love on us anytime.
Yeah.
But you look at one of the largest mental health crises is loneliness. And so what are we as women doing to help those around us and think, okay, is somebody that I love, are they lonely? What am I doing to make sure that that we're filling up that loneliness gap, that they don't have to feel that way?
And that's why I love your podcast. I mean, I've watched it, and And it is so genius. I wish I'd have thought of it. Because it says stay a while. Because in a world right now where we're just like, hey, how you doing? Rush. You know, what's
Yeah.
going on? Hey, you know, everything's fast paced, cookie cutter, not cookie cutter, I'm sorry, but you know, microwave. And you're like, no, let's just sit down in these beautiful orange chairs, stay a while, get some coffee. Let me make you some what is it?
Let's stop. Blueberry biscuits. What you want? What you
See
want?
that part? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're right. And then before you know it, we're breaking bread and we're just
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah,
That's genius.
yeah. We
But
got
how
to get
many
away
ti-
from being transactional and more
Yeah.
relational. So we know that you all have a ton of resources that we can share with people. So what I would like to get from you is that information so we can put it in the show notes. So
Yeah.
if people are listening, they have an area where they can go, and we'll make sure we have those details available for you in our show notes, because mental wellness, everybody deserves to have a healthy mind, a healthy everything, but everything starts in the mind. The mind is the battlefield. And so we want to make sure that you have the tools that you need so that you are able to live the life that you deserve to have, because mental wellness is your birthright.
That's right. And you know, people deserve to live, and we call it LIFE, live in freedom every day. So I always tell people I'm all about that life, helping people to live in freedom every day.
And you know what? Sometimes all you have time for is to sit and take 10 deep breaths. But at least do that for yourself every single day, because as women, moms, grandmas, sisters, friends, women in the workplace, we're on that gerbil wheel. And sometimes it's years before we get off. But if we can just take even a minute and take 10 deep breaths and just say, okay, I am here. I am here. So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity
Right.
to talk
I am so
and
grateful.
share our stories,
Yes,
because we
absolutely.
all have a story that is worth telling.
Absolutely. I thank you so much for joining me today at the Stay a While table and providing us with some necessary information, life healing, life changing, life giving. And know you're welcome here anytime.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.